can't stop. I can't stop.
Oh, I didn't see you there. Well, welcome back to another video. And this video is going to be a little different because I'm going to read you guys a story that I wrote myself. And I just want you guys to listen to it. And at the end, please leave a comment what you think. And this is the first short story I ever wrote. So I hope you guys like it. As the sun began to rise, a farmer made his way to the local market, eager to gather supplies for his farm. He strolled through the aisles, admiring the various tools, fertilizers, and livestock available. A bag of fertilizer caught his eye, marked at an astonishingly low price. 75% off? There must be a catch, he said to himself. Nevertheless, he thought, after all, dirt is dirt, and decided to purchase the bag. Next, he wandered over to the livestock section, where a chicken stood out amongst the rest. I simply must have her, he exclaimed to the shopkeeper. A wise choice, replied the shopkeeper. She will cost you $58. The farmer beamed with delight as he paid for the beautiful bird. I shall name you Avil, he declared, envisioning her as a new addition to the farm. After spending a delightful afternoon exploring the market, the farmer gathered his purchases and headed back home, his heart filled with excitement and anticipation for the days to come. Upon arriving at his farm, the farmer spread the new fertilizer across his crops, eager to nurture their growth. He proudly introduced Avil to the other farmhands and livestock. What a magnificent bird, exclaimed one of the farmhands. She's a prized chicken and a splendid addition to the farm. For weeks, the farm celebrated Avil's beauty, and just as they did, the crops reached their peak for harvest. This year's harvest has arrived earlier than usual, the farmer remarked as he began gathering the golden grain. Once all the crops were collected, he called the farm animals together, preparing to feed them with the fresh produce. Avil was among the group of chickens assembled. As the farmer reached for a bucket of grain, he noticed an unpleasant odor wafting from it. What an odd smell, he said. I hope the animals will enjoy it. He tossed the grain onto the ground in front of the chickens. Avil approached the food and cautiously picked up a piece with her beak. The taste was revolting and she instantly spat it out. The farmer witnessed this and shouted, "You better eat up because this is the only food you're going to get." Avil glanced at her fellow chickens, who upon smelling the grain recoiled in disgust. Yet despite their reservations, all but one chicken began to eat, with Avil standing stubbornly aside. "So you wish to be difficult now," the farmer said, frustrated. He seized Avil and placed her in a cage. "You won't come out until you eat your food," he declared as he locked the cage securely. Days turned into weeks, and Avil remained confined in her cage. The farmer continued to collect her eggs, while Avil steadfastly refused to consume the farmer's spoiled grain. As time passed, she became increasingly malnourished. "I believe we should feed her better food," suggested one of the farmhands, gazing sadly at the weakened bird lying in her cage. "Silence! They will eat what I tell them to eat," the farmer snapped in response. "Why do you persist in growing that awful grain?" the farmhand pressed. "Because it saves us a fortune," the farmer retorted, his voice firm. Avil, feeling utterly exhausted, noticed a bucket of water not far from her cage. She reached out, desperate for a sip, but just as she was about to taste the refreshing liquid, the farmer stormed in and kicked the bucket over. "Oh no, you don't. I said you're not getting anything unless you eat your grain," he shouted. More days passed, and Avil still refused to touch the rotten grain. She lay on the brink of collapse, unable to produce any eggs. One fateful day, the farmer entered to find Avil in a pitiful state. He paused, contemplating whether to release her from her prison. Instead, he reached for his holster, pulled out his revolver, loaded a single bullet, and aimed it at Avil. "You should have eaten the grain," he muttered coldly. Then, with a deafening bang, Avil's body fell lifeless in the cage. "What happened? I heard a bang," cried the farmhand as he rushed in, breathless in shock. "There will always be other chickens. Clean it up," the farmer said dismissively, tucking the revolver back into his holster and finally opening the cage. The farmhand grabbed the shovel, lifting Avil's lifeless form with great reverence. He trudged towards the furnace, with his heart heavy with the weight of loss. "This farm has truly fallen into despair," he said, casting Avil into the fiery embrace of the flames, as the fire roared to life, consuming all but her essence.
After the flames had done their work, nothing remained of Avil but her ashes. The farmhand tenderly gathered these remnants in a saucer, stepping beyond the fence that surrounded the farm. As he laid the ashes gently upon the earth, a remarkable sight caught his eye, subtle movements stirring from within the ashes. Intrigued, he leaned closer as he beheld a beak emerging from the powdery remains. It was the beak of a phoenix, radiant and full of promise. "Rise, Avil, soar into the boundless sky. You are free," he exclaimed, his voice ringing with both awe and encouragement. With a powerful unfurling of her wings, Avil ascended into the heavens, her vibrant plumage igniting like a living flame as she took flight. She soared towards the horizon, leaving behind the ashes of her past and embracing the infinite possibilities of her rebirth. The end.
I'm glad Avil was able to get out of that situation. Now, the only thing I have to say about that story is shame on that farmer for forcing Avil to eat that spoiled grain. Shame on that farmer for continuing to grow that spoiled grain even though he knew it was bad. Shame on that farmer for trapping Avil for refusing to eat that spoiled grain. And then shame on that farmer for not releasing Avil when he had the chance and instead getting rid of her. So I want you guys to tell me what you think of the story. Tell me what you think it's about and leave in the comments. And just tell me if I should write more, because this is my first time ever writing. And I'm glad I'm able to show everyone my work. I don't know, maybe I might write more. But anyway, like, comment, subscribe.